Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime as well. Mitzvah Hashem, we'll speak about Tetzave, we'll speak about Purim, and something else we'll soon see. I want to dedicate the shir for the Hatzlacha of Ben Zion, Ben Dosa, him and his family. And Mitzvah Hashem, we'll speak about Moshe's disappearance. Double dipping. See what that means. Fascinating questions and answers in Halacha. We're going to remember in Mitzvah Hashem, Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal, whose Yortzeit is coming Wednesday, Shushan Purim. Story, riddles, and we'll see whatever Kodesh Baruch Hu allows us to say within the time that we have. But we're starting with something as if not related, that is connected to these parshas. Last week's parsha, the word Techeles appears. And Tetzave and Vayakel Pekudei, we're going to repeat and read all about the Techeles, and we wear something that has to do with Techeles every single day, and that is the Tzitzis. And since in the last week and a half I was asked so many times, suddenly, about Techeles in Tzitzis, should one wear Techeles? How do we look at it? Why do we see so many, Gedolei Yisrael, not wearing Techeles? What does that mean? One who wears Techeles, should he take it off? How do we look at this? And recently, a video, an old video from 6 years ago, started circulating again. Hold on a second. It shows over there?
No, I couldn't see it.
So recently this video started circulating again, where you see one of the people involved in the Techeles going to Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal and asking him about it. And basically asking him, if somebody believes that this is the Techeles, does he have to wear the Techeles? And Reb Chaim says yes. But soon we'll see what Reb Chaim's real opinion about this, and we'll wonder what happened exactly in that video, whether cut and edited and manipulated a little. We'll see a little later. So we'll try to speak about the Techeles in both matters of Hashkafa and Halacha. And Haboicher Yivchar, you'll choose what to do with this information. Hopefully it will be compelling and convincing. I'm convinced. So some try to push Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky as if he suggested, encouraged, motivated people to wear it. And once you see what Reb Chaim wrote about it, in Das Noita and Tzitzis, in a bunch of tshuvos, Reish Ayin Gimel, Reish Ayin Dalet, Reish Ayin Hey, Reish Ayin Vav, Reish Ayin Zayin, Reish Ayin Ches, Reish Ayin Tes, that's many tshuvos. And as opposed to his normal style, which was very, very short, yes, no, maybe, ulai, here he expands more, and in the footnotes he expanded even more his opinion that they asked him about it. So you'll see very clearly what he thinks about it. Reb Chaim's Yortzeit is coming soon. And the tsar, that to use his name, as if he encouraged and motivated people, and soon you'll see why. You'll see in the video, Mitzvah Hashem, that I brought. You'll see why this is very, very wrong. But he's not the only one. Rebbe Yoshev in Koves Tshuvos, Chelek Aleph, Siman Beis, right at the beginning, talks about it. Reb Moshe Sternbuch, in his Tshuvos Ve'anhagos in Chelek Vav, Siman Gimel, and in his long Haskama that he wrote to a Sefer, a kuntres called Tachla Dechilozon, one who answers all the Techeles claims and proofs as if. So Moshe Sternbuch has a long askama about it, and he goes barichus why it doesn't even start. Rabbi Rabbi Shavais in Minchas Osher in Chelek Beis, in Simanim Beis, and Gimel, and Daled, and Hey, Be'arichus, when one of the Techeles people is sending him the information and why he is right, and Rabbi Shavais answers him, basically dismantles the whole thing. But he comes back and again attacks him, and Reb Moshe again breaks up to pieces everything that Mamash shatters it to pieces. He goes back and forth in 4 simanim. So we have many of Gedolei Yisrael and many more that I didn't mention, and they all wrote about it, all wrote against it. But let's see why. What's the problem? First of all, let's start with the basics. When we say the word Techeles, what is the color in English that we're talking about?
Indigo.
In basic, simple English that I can understand? Blue. So at least we know what we're talking about. But you may have a problem with Rashi. Rashi. Why? Rashi, in a few places, his friend, the Ibn Ezra, his friend, the Mordechai. We're talking about Rishonim. Rashi, Ibn Ezra, Mordechai. Rashi in Shemois Chafei. Last week's Parsha, Chafei Pasuk Daled, and the word Techeles. Techeles, Tziv'o Yarok, green. Has nothing to do with blue. Pele. Ibn Ezra writes the same. Rashi, again in Parshas Shelach, in Parshas Tzitzis, Tesvav Lamed Ches, writes it's green. The Mordechai in Bochosim and Yutes writes the same. This actually works very well, this green idea, with what Chazal say. Chazal say, in Menachos in Bavli, that the Techeles is doime leyam, like the sea. V'yam doime lekisei hakavod. But wait a second, in Yerushalmi and in Bamidbar Rabbah, there's an addition. Before we jump to the kisei hakavod. Techeles doime leyam. V'yam doime le'asavim. Similar to grass. I don't know bluegrass. Grass is green. The last grass that I saw is green. Ve'asavim doimim lekisei hakavod. Fine, don't know what that means. But it fits very, very well with the Shita of three Rishonim. Rashi, Ibn Ezra, and Mordechai. Good. But this is not the only opinion. We find 5 different opinions in the Rishonim what Techeles really is. The problem is, Rashi himself says something else. In Bamidbar, 3 psukim after what we quoted, Tesvav Mem Aleph, Rashi says, Tzeva harakiya hamashchir le'es erev. The color of the sky that blackens at dusk. That's not green. It's also not blue. So what is it? The Ibn Ezra writes the same. So Ibn Ezra contradicts himself, Rashi contradicts himself, but Lemaisa we have 2 different opinions in halacha. Biur Hagro, An Shir Hashirim, Perek Gimel Pasuk Yud, he writes, Techeles hu shachor. It's black. So what is it? I don't know. Depends who you ask. Depends when you ask them. Green, like the sky that blackens towards dusk, and or black. Sifri says the same thing, that it's black. Medrash Agada, Bamidbar Tesvav Lamed Ches say the same thing. But there is an opinion. I found an opinion that it's blue, like we always thought. That's the Rambam. The Rambam holds in Tzitzis, Perek Beis Halacha Aleph, that it is blue. However, comes the Mahari Kokus and explains the Rambam, and that is already our 5th opinion, that the Rambam doesn't mean blue like we normally understand it. It's Kochol Hanoite Le'admumis, meaning some kind of a purplish color. What do we do when we have a machlokes in between Rishonim? Do we know how to paskin? I don't know. We have all kinds of rules. Hilchos psika, klalei psika. How do we rule? For example, when Reb Meir argues with Reb Yehuda, how do we paskin? It's a gemore. En Eruvin Mem Vamud Beis. Reb Meir argues with Reb Yehuda, we paskin like Reb Yehuda. Reb Yehuda and Reb Yosi argue. Who do we listen to? Reb Yosi. Reb Meir and Reb Yosi. Reb Yosi. Rabbi Eliezer ben Naki, Mishnasoi Kav Venaki. The Gemara says, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, you find him very, very few times in the Gemara, but every time you listen, every time you see him, halacha is like him. Kav Venaki. Rav and Shmuel are arguing. Halacha Kirav regarding Isurim, halacha Kishmuel regarding Mamonos. Abaye and Rava. Who do we pass like? Always Rava, except 6 times. Yael Kagam is the way to remember it. Great. But how do you decree a machlokes between Rishonim? Rashi, Ibn Ezra, do you know how to paskin? So who told you the blue that we think it is the right blue? We don't have a Masoreres on this because it's stopped for hundreds of years. Problem number 1. I showed this, which I thought is my own chiddush, finding all these different opinions about the Techeles. I showed it to Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal 6.5 years ago. I go and said, Rebbe, I showed him, I wrote it the whole thing with the sources. And I said, so according to this, it doesn't even start, right? He said, you don't need this. Chazal say in the Medrash that Techeles nignaz. It's in Gniza. It's not coming back. So why do you need this? The Medrash that he refers to is a Medrash Tanchuma. And the Medrash Tanchuma says, it's a mitzvah to bring Techeles and Lavan. When? Ve'imasai? Kshehu Techeles, when it's really Techeles. Ve'achshav? Ein lanu ela Lavan. And now, says the Medrash, we only have white. Why? Techeles nignaz, because the Techeles is in Gniza, somewhere stored away. Till when? Maybe the Techeles was nignaz, in fact. But since then, they found it. But there's another Medrash, Sifri. Sifri is Medrash Tanaim. And the Sifri says, Nikahu sheganuz le'tzadikim le'asid lavoi. The Techeles is not only nignaz, it's nignaz and stored away for the tzadikim, Emetz Hashem, speedily soon in our days. The Arizal thought that this Medrash is important enough to bring it, and in Pri Etz Chaim in Sha'ar Tzitzis Perek Dalet, he writes why al pi Kabbalah we don't have and we won't have Techeles now ba'olam hazeh until Emetz Hashem soon. Mashiach comes. So I asked Reb Chaim, I told him, look, in Das Noita you write extensively about it. Yoshver, Rebbe Yoshiv, writes about it in his Tshuvas, in Chelek Aleph, as we said, in Simin Beis. From looking into these Tshuvas that you both write, and many others wrote as well, it seems that there's no Inyan. So is that true, that there's no Inyan whatsoever to wear it? So Reb Chaim says to me, Tzitzis will only be revealed when Mashiach will come. As it says in the Medrash Tanchuma, Techeles is nignas ad shemashiach yavo. So I asked again, so it's not true what they say in your name, that you said to a person who believes that it really is Techeles, that he is chayav to wear it? I'm going to keep you in suspense. Let's see what Reb Chaim had to answer me about this question.
יש פה, הרב פקסין הביא פה, זה הפתק שלו, ההוא שתים ברגע.
ההיסטוריה שם פסים.
כן.
הציטוס יתגלה רק כשמשיח יבוא.
אז זה לא נכון מה שאומרים בשם הרב.
כתוב במדרש תנחומו, בארצות ויקרא, שהתחילת נגנז עד שהוא משיח.
אז זה לא נכון מה שאומרים שהרב אמר שמי שמאמין בזה חייב ללבוש את זה, זה לא נכון.
לא, פתאום, נגד נו. זה הפרטה של ראש הממשלה. עשו מניפולציה להפרטה.
אמרתי שהוא משוגע.
בסדר.
So now we know exactly what Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky holds about this. So, not sure you want to listen to the other video that maybe was circulating. I was there. By the way, this is a very unique video. Because I had an appointment with Reb Chaim, and I came all the way from Bet Shemesh to Bnei Brak. And when I came, his grandson told me, I'm so sorry, I know I made an appointment for you. My grandfather in the last few hours doesn't feel well. He has high fever. He's in bed. So I said, I'm so sorry. I'll daven for him with 4 shleim, and I turned around and started walking. And then he quickly calls me back, wait a second. My grandfather says you can come in. And he called me into his bedroom. It happened twice. This is one of those times. I think I talked about it once in the past. He's in bed. He doesn't feel well. He has high fever. He's in a blanket. A few more seconds before he goes to sleep, the dedication, the sacrifice for Klal Yisrael, the Mesirus Nefesh. His Yotzeit is coming in a few days, and we can learn something from that. Who would do such a thing, to bring a person into his own bedroom? Let alone the mayor of the city, the governor. This is Maran ve'Rabbanan, Maran shel kol bnei hagoyla. Chazal say in Gittin Samech Beis, Man Malchei, who is called the king, Rabbanon. A king calls you into his bedroom. Who does that? Dedication for Klal Yisrael. Mitzvah Hashem, because it's his Yotzeit, I brought another little short video. We'll show it later at the end of the shiur, because I don't want anybody to fall asleep or to leave. So we'll keep you in suspense, but Mitzvah Hashem. But let's continue with the Techeles. There's a video circulating that one of the Techeles people is asking Reb Chaim, if a person believes in it, should he wear it? And Reb Chaim says yes. But today it's very easy to cut and edit and do whatever. I don't know. All I know is that I asked Reb Chaim and you saw the answer. Amarti shehu meshuga. I said he's crazy. Was that? No, he wrote about it throughout the years. And you heard, I don't know if you heard the grandson, as soon as I asked, he says, no, you know he's against it. You know he's against it. Of course not. I'm sorry?
I couldn't hear it. Could you just say the kids what Reb Chaim said?
Yeah. I asked him, according to the opinions that we discussed before, it doesn't even start to wear it, right? He says to me, why do you need these opinions? Why do you need this machlokes and halacha? You don't need that. The Medrash says the Tzitzis, the Techeles was nignas. It's not coming back until Mashiach comes. So then I said, but I heard in your name that you said that a person who believes in it should wear it. Is this true? He says, no, I said something else. I said that he's crazy. This is his words. Amarti shehu meshuga. So mele to use Chaim Kanievsky, you see from here, it doesn't even start. And it causes him mistama such sorrow in Shamayim. We said the Arizal brought it. The Gaon of Vilna also thought this Medrash, that its Nignas is so important, more important enough to bring it in his Agaos on Shulchan Aruch. In Simin Tes, Seif Beis, in Biur Hagro, the Gaon of Vilna brings this as well. That's a little history. First time around, this is the third time. First time, 150 years ago, the Reginer, the Rebbe of Regin, he came up with what he thought was the Techeles, and he wrote extensively about it, and he said, I found it, Baruch Hashem. But Gedolei Yisrael said, no, this is not the Techeles. No one joined him. A few people were drawn after him, but not Gedolim. All the Gedolim said no. Some years passed, and it was proven that he was wrong. Second round. Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Herzog, Zatzal, chief rabbi of Eretz Yisrael, 50 or 60 years later, came up with his version, and this is the real one. Gedolei Yisrael didn't agree. No one joined him. A few years passed, and they were proven right, and he was proven wrong. This is the third time. So let's see. Gedolei Yisrael weren't wrong twice, but now, finally, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to prove them wrong. Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense to think that? Can it be? Eliyahu is coming, and Yimit Hashem is coming today. And he will look at all Gedolei Yisrael and said, why did you listen? Why didn't you wear these Techeles? What's wrong with you? Does that make any sense to you? So maybe if it's a machlokes in halacha, some Gedolim hold like this, and some Gedolim hold like this. We had many machlokes. It started from Shammai and Hillel, from Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. But when all Gedolei Yisrael don't join, what does that mean? There's a Medrash in Shmoi Saba, Parsha Gimel, Ois Ches. The Medrash does in a pasuk from Hazinu, Sh'al avicha v'yagedcha, Zkenecha, go ask the elders, Zkenecha v'yom mulach, says the Medrash, Shekol mi shenoitel eitza min azkenim. If you go to the elders, to the Chachmei Ador, to the Gedolei Yisrael, Eino nichshal. You will not stumble. So can it be that you will stumble because Chazal don't know what they're talking about? Can it be? Conceptually, just so wrong. Was there anyone that we know in the last few generations that was more careful, strict, to make sure that he doesn't go and a Yoda from the words of Chazal? More than just examples. Rab Shteiman, you heard the stories. Chaim Kanievsky, Rabbi Yoshiv, Le'avdil ben Chaim lechaim, Dov Landau, Moshe Hillel Hirsch. Can it be that Klal Yisrael goes to these people to ask them about halachos chamuros, Shabbos? If they're wrong, it's skila. If you're asking them about hilchos nida, that's kares. We're asking them about pikuach nefesh. But tzitzis, what do they understand? They don't understand tzitzis. Tzitzis, they don't have the desire that we have to do the mitzvah tzitzis b'shleimus. Everything else, yeah, no. They know Shabbos and pikuach nefesh, of course. I'm going to rely on them. Not when it comes to tzitzis. Does that make any sense? It's an intellectual shame. It's a disgrace to the Gedolei Ador, to Talmidei Chachamim, to even think like that. So some say, well, it's political. Don't know what that means. Some say, Techeles costs much more than regular tzitzis. So the Gedolei Ador will say, yes, they will impose, it's too much of an expense to impose on Klal Yisrael. Did you see Gedolei Yisrael not buying the most expensive, beautiful Mehudar Esol because of this svara? Do you think that Gedolei Yisrael don't try to be mehader in the mitzvah of tefillin because of this svara? Matzahs for Pesach are very expensive, so they don't, they just buy the junky matzahs. I don't want to cause anybody. Does that make any sense? Those who hold that you must use kosher electricity, generator is a big expense, and on a monthly basis. So because of that, they don't do it. It's ridiculous. Michtav Me'Eliyahu has an amazing essay about Emunas Chachamim. Chelek Aleph, page 75, for 3 pages, 75, 76, 77. I mentioned it in the past year, but I think it's a mitzvah to mention it again. A wonderful essay, which has to do with these days, Purim. We're not going to go with the whole essay, but he concludes it with one sentence, which I think every Yid must learn by heart. I consider myself Jewish, and therefore I try to learn by heart. Cheson ha'itbatlus le'umas raboseinu. The lack of nullifying oneself to our rabbis. Zehu shoresh kol chatas, utchilas kol churban rachman al Islam. That is the root cause of every sin. In the beginning of every destruction, rachman al Islam, God should save us. But he continues. V'kol hazchuyois, all the merits. What does that mean, all the merits? That means a person who learns 25 hours a day because he gets up 1 hour earlier. It means a person who has 500 families that he does Tumchi Shabbos. Kol hazchuyos that you can think of. Lo yishvu, will not compare. Leumas shoresh hakol, to the root of its all, shehu emunas chachamim. I thought Yiddishkeit hinges on something else. Talmud Torah, other things, no. The Mirta Meliyahu says, the foundation of Yiddishkeit. It hinges on our Masoros, on emunas chachamim. And if you don't have that, you uproot Yiddishkeit. So can it be to say that Gedolei Yisrael, they don't have the desire, they don't understand? We understand.
Page 77?
Page 75 starts the essay, Chelek Aleph, 75, 76, 77. He concludes it with this statement. It's 77 at the end. Halacha. There's a machlokes, Rambam and Rashi. They're not the only ones who join the machlokes. The Rambam and Tosfos, and Menachos men Beis Amud Beis. When you dye the Techeles, you have to mix all kind of ingredients in that big barrel that you're dyeing the Techeles. According to Rashi, no, you don't mix anything. Do you know how to decree a machlokes between Rashi, Rambam, and Tosfos? How do we paskin? Based on what? We don't have the tools to know how to paskin. So it's not just ashkafa, it's halacha. Chazal tell us all kinds of simanim to identify. When you see this chilazon, you know that this is the right one because of certain simanim. These don't appear in what they have found. So they force it. That's not what Chazal meant. This is not really so. It's just divrei agada because you have to fit the agenda. They also use all kinds of writings, Goyish writings from thousands of years ago, scientific writings, and all kinds of things. Chazon Ish writes, he objected to use for halachic purposes writings of Goyim. Minchas Osher, the Moshe Weiss, in his back and forth, which we discussed before, I'm going to quote to you. He writes to this person about this, Yislach kvod Toraso, forgive me, but Ach kimdumani, I believe, Ruach shtus, a spirit of foolishness, Achaza b'mi she'ma'aleh al da'ato, a spirit of foolishness hovers over a person that thinks to bring a semech la halacha, support to halacha, from ksavim of chachmei umos ha'olam milifnei alfei shanim. You can't bring Goyish writings into the realms of halacha and to bring from that a raya or support. So many of those who wear it, the truth is they are tzaddikim. They are tzaddikim, and they are tamimim, and they just do the right. They just don't want to do the right thing because they heard a question. If there is a chance, an opportunity to do the right thing, what do I have to lose? And they didn't delve into this, and they didn't hear what we're saying now about Gedolei Yisrael. So the people who don't understand and just heard this sentence, I understand why they're wearing it. And they're tzaddikim and they're tmimim. They're 100% wrong. But if they'll think about it and analyze what we're saying, can it be? This idea, if there's nothing to lose, Gedolei Yisrael don't know this svara. They didn't figure out what you just thought about. Think about it. It doesn't make any sense. And if one does know that Gedolei Yisrael didn't join, and they don't hold of this svara, so what is driving a person like that? What is his motivation to wear it? He has to question himself. In essence, it says, all Gedolei Yisrael are here. I know they don't join. They're right here. But I'm right up here. I'm on the same level. They can have their opinion, but I can also have mine. That's what it means. It's absolutely terrible. And many times, not always, but many times, these are a specific, very independent type of people, which means many times it goes hand in hand with the people who go to Har HaBayis, against the opinion of Gedolei Yisrael forever, against the opinion of the Rabbanut of Eretz Yisrael, from the beginning, all the way from Rav Kook Zatzal, all the way till today. Chief rabbis always said no. But if I can have my own machshava and be on the same level as Gedolei Yisrael, so why not? I do my own thing, and that is very, very dangerous. It's also kind of ridiculous. I want to read to you a pasuk in Parsha Shelach. We all know this pasuk. We say it every single day. Try to catch me if you can. I may change just one word. May not. Daber ibnei Yisrael ve'amata aleim ve'asu lehem tzitzis. I didn't change anything yet. Where? Al kanfei bigdayim. Fine. ונשאו על ציציס הכנף פסיל חלס, לדורייסם. Any problem with this? What's that? No, the way I said it. Is there anything wrong with the words I said? What's wrong with the Rosam? It appears in the pasuk. It's somewhere else. Doesn't make sense. Shaila of the Or Chaim HaKodesh on that pasuk. HaKodesh Baruch Hu put the wrong L'Doreisam in the middle of the pasuk. Really it says, Daber Bnei Yisrael v'amart aleim. V'asur lahem tzitzis. You know where? Akan bigdayim. You know when? L'Doreisam, always. And then suddenly you go back to the details. And by the way, v'nasnu al tzitzis hakanav psil Techeles. Says the Or Chaim HaKodesh, the order is wrong. First tell me all the details, and then tell me when it applies. How come HaKodesh Baruch Hu says the word L'Doreisam immediately after he says tzitzis on the four corners of your garments, and then he says, by the way, put a Techeles. Or Chaim HaKodesh was mechaven to the Beis Yosef who says the same thing. There's a small sefer called Drashos Maran Beis Yosef Al Torah. Reb Shlomo Mikutna and a few other Gedolim had the same machshava, and they all wrote it Adata de Nafshe. Each one arrived at this conclusion on their own. And the Or Chaim HaKodesh, his language is gewaldig. He says, Nischakem Hashem. HaKodesh Baruch Hu was clever here. And you have to put your tzitzis on the four corners of your garments. Always! That is L'Doreisam. But the next directive in the pasuk, make sure you have Techeles, that you're not going to have it. You're not going to have it because it's nignas. So therefore the Torah doesn't say L'Doreisam on that. L'Doreisam is tzitzis, the white, always. Make sure you put it on. Techeles you're not going to have for a very, very, very long time, so can't force you to say L'Doreisam because then you'll be obligated to do something you can't. So therefore HaKodesh Baruch Hu played a little game as if he's Nischakem Hashem. That's the language of Or Chaim HaKodesh. Let's say we don't have this gigantic problem, which is gigantic. We're not listening to Gil Yisrael. We're thinking we're smarter than them, or at least on the same level. Let's say we ignore that. We can't. But let's say we can't. But let's say we do. What is really the problem with what we said before? What do you have to lose? Let's say I'm not. So what I do wrong? I still have 8 strings. What's the problem? Is there anything to lose? Reb Moshe Sternbuch Shleita makes a calculation that if you're wrong and it's really not the Techeles, it's not that, okay, no big deal. Potentially you go over Bal Tigra and Bal Toisif. That's an Isur D'Oraisa. Why Bal Tigra? Bal Toisif, don't add to the mitzvahs, don't detract from them. What's the connection? The Shita of the Rambam is that you need 7 strings of white and 1 Techeles. The Ravid doesn't agree. The Ravid says, no. You need 6 white, 2 blue. Not blue. Techeles, whatever that is. Rashi and many of the Rishonim, most Rishonim say no. 4 and 4. So if you put your Techeles, only 1, according to the Ravid and everybody else, you just did Bal Tigra, you need to have more. According to the Rambam, if you put 2, you did Bal Toisif. So potentially you can do a Bal Toisif, potentially you can do a Bal Tigra. Unless, before you wear it, you make a Tnai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if this is Techeles, so I want to do it according to the Shita that says this is the amount of strings that I need for the Techeles. And if it's not Techeles, I don't. Anyone knows this? Does anyone make this condition or is aware of this Bichlal? I don't think so. Do we know how to paskin in these matters? We don't know. There's a machlokes rishonim. We showed already 2 other machlokes rishonim. We have no idea how to paskin. We have rules how to paskin between Tanaim and Amoraim. We don't know how to paskin when Rashi argues with the Rambam. When Tosfos and Ravid and everybody else, we don't know how to paskin. What's that? I can't hear you. We don't know how to paskin on Techeles because we don't have Techeles. We don't have a Masoyres for 1,000 years. So we don't know how to paskin. And if we say, oh, what do I have to lose? So first of all, we saw a big thing that you have to lose. And 2 more potential things. Shulchan Aruch Chaim, Simin Tes, Seif Hey. The Shulchan Aruch writes that the medakdikim make sure that the strings are in the same color of the garment. So if this is not Techeles, you didn't gain that. You want to be a medakdik b'mitzvahs. So that means if your garment is white, the strings have to be white. If you know for a fact you have the Techeles, good for you. But if you're not sure, and you may be wrong, remember, the Israel are not with you. Let's say you're wrong. So then you don't qualify for those medakdikim, which I'm sure you want to be. That's one thing. Another thing. The Biru Halacha, Zilber. The Shulchan Aruch writes, Simin Tet Seif Hey, the medakdikim make sure that the strings will be the same color of the garment. You have a white garment, make sure it's white strings. Unless you have the real Techeles. So if you're not having the real Techeles and it's not Techeles, it's not that, okay, no big deal, I have 8 strings. You have a big deal. You want it to be one of the Medagdikim, you're not. Rav Zilber in his Biru Halacha writes that potentially if it's not the Techeles, you go over a very severe thing that Chazal discuss, Kalailan, a person who puts something else in his tzitzis, that's very, very severe. Potentially we have a lot to lose. This claim of, in Hebrew we say, Im lo yo'il lo yazik. If it doesn't help, well, it won't hurt. Chazon Ish said, I once had, I grew up in the city of Kosovo, like in Europe, and there was a guy who used to walk around with the frames of the glasses, but with no lenses. And people asked him, what are you doing? And he used to say, well, if it's not going to hurt, if it's not going to help, it's not going to hurt. He says, that's what I think about the Techeles. You're walking around with a frame without lenses. Menachos, Mem Daled Amud Aleph. Chazal say, Tanu Rabbanan. What are the simanim? Chilozon ze. Gufo doime leyam. Its body resembles the sea. Its form resembles that of a fish. It comes out by the water once in 70 years. None of these simanim apply to what they found. No, 70 years doesn't really mean 70. 70 years means maybe the majority or maybe some of them, but that doesn't mean that. All kinds of forcing their agenda into the words of Chazal. Doesn't even start. What they found has been around. It's not a new creature. The Beis HaLevi says, if we have something that was always around and we don't use it, they never used it and hundreds of years ago, that's as if we have a Masoires against it. That means the Masoires that we have says this is not the right thing. And if you don't have a Masoires, you can't start one anew. Beis HaLevi. So, yeah. They claim some of Gedolei Yisrael, and I don't want to even mention the names of these Gedolim because of their honor. Don't want to hurt their honor. Many of them are not here, and it's very easy to say something in the name of a Gadol that's not all here because he can't come and say it. But I never said it. So they claim all kinds of Gedolei Yisrael wore it. I was Baruch Hashem personally close to some of those Gedolim, and I spent a lot of time with them, and they did not wear the Techeles. There's many other hashkafic and halachic matter that we can add to this. Yeah.
Just Rav Shan, there were many tzitzis. Did he?
Oh, not many, only 150. 150. One of the claims they made is about him. He did not wear it. Now, I didn't lift each one of the 150, but I did speak to the Gabbai. I was there many, many times. What's that?
It's for like one day.
I'm sorry?
He wore it for one day.
Who told you?
Exactly.
Were you there?
No.
Hachai yachol lehakrish es hames, ve'en hames yachol lehakrish es hachai. When a person is dead, he can't come and says, but it's not true, why are you saying that about me? So you can say whatever you want about a person who's not here, and he won't be able to come and reject it.
The reginer and the also, what would they answer? They knew the simanim, right? They know what all this.
One of the rules that we said before, we have klalei apsika. How do we paskin? We have a rule. Yachid ve'rabim halacha kirabim. So even if you find somebody who's going to join you, but yachid ve'rabim halacha kirabim. So if you have a bunch of Gedolim with you, great. But you have to question yourself, why aren't the Gedolim joining me? What does that mean? We'll finish with 2 points. Aruch HaShulchan. Shulchan Aruch HaChaim. Simin Tes, Seif Yud Beis, I'm quoting. Uve'avonoseinu, to our dismay because of our sins, Mizman shenispazarnu, since we went to Galus, Ein lanu Techeles. We don't have Techeles. Ve'ein anu yudim mizeh klal, and we don't know what it is. V'chol tzitzis shelanu lavan, and the entire tzitzis that we have is white. U'mikol makom, however, anachnu mekayimim hamitzvah ketikuna. We are fulfilling the mitzvah as we should, because it was already clarified that the Techeles eino me'akev es halavan. If you don't have Techeles, you're fine, you're good to go. But he continues, Veda, and you should know, shezeh shanim sfuros, not too long ago, this is Aruch HaShulchan writing it about 120 years ago, not too long ago, she'echad hispaer shematza achilazon. Someone bragged, he doesn't say the name, we know who it is, that he found achilazon. Ve'aseh meno Techeles, and he made Techeles. Ve'himshich acharav eze anashim, some people followed him. However, ach lo haya lo shomea migdolei hador ve'klal Yisrael, none of Gedolei Yisrael joined him, and Klal Yisrael didn't go after this. Ve'nisbatel hadavar, and this was cancelled and nullified, ad, until when? Ad ki yavo goel tzedek b'mehera b'yameinu amen. It's not going to happen, he says, and he's obviously using the same Yiddish that we said before. It's nignaz le'asid lavo. I want to finish this section with Reb Moshe Sternbuch. Moshe Sternbuch, what he writes, wah. Jews v'anagos in Chelek Vav, and in his Askama that I discussed before, Tachla de Chilozon, this booklet that came out against the Techeles. He writes like this, Bevadai, lo na'asa etzleinu afilu safek. This is not even within the realm of a safek that this thing is Techeles. Shelo shamanu migdolei Yisrael she'eskimu lachshosh shezeu Techeles, because we didn't find that Gedolei Yisrael are worried. Maybe this is Techeles. Uvemakom de ischazak. Ad achshav. Shenignaz mi'itanu Techeles. And if, since we have a chazaka, that we don't have Techeles, hundreds and hundreds of years, lo kol harotze litoles Hashem yavo lehachmir. Not anyone who wants to be machmir can say, oh, but I found it. You're going against the chazaka. Uledati, and in my opinion, says Reb Moshe Sternbuch, en shum chasidus lehachmir lelovsho. There is no Indian. What do you care? I'm going to be a chasid, a tzaddik. There is no Indian of chasidus to wear it. But he continues. V'keivan shegedolei ha'hoira bizmanenu, since the halachic authorities of our time, the greatest, she'al pi hora'asam nohagim bebeis Yisrael bechol dinei Torah, that we follow them in all matters of Torah. Lo heskimu lachshosh shezeh Techeles. We're not worried. They don't even hold that this is a chashash, that this is Techeles. Hamachmir lelovshoi, one who is, I want to be machmir, I want to wear it. He is like, harei ze doime, to what Chazal say, de hamachmir ke beis Shammai lo asa klum. It's like, after the halacha was paskin like Beis Hillel, you say, but I want to be machmir like Beis Shammai. We don't do that. V'lo yekabel sachar al kach, he will not be rewarded for it. You want to be rewarded? רק יקבל שכר על הפרישה. If you don't wear it, you'll be rewarded. More than that. והמחמיר כן ברבים. And if you want to be such a מחמיר, and therefore it's hanging out so everybody should see you're a big מחמיר, אינו אלא יוהרה. That is arrogance. Because you're going against גדולי ישראל. But I still want to do the mitzvah of Techeles. We all do. So learn the halachos of Techeles. Because Menachos Kuf Yud, the Gemara says, Kol ha'osek b'toiras chatas, if you are learning the halachos of a mitzvah that you can't fulfill, ma'ale alav hakasuv, it is counted upstairs as if you actually fulfilled that mitzvah. Since it's nignas and we can't fulfill it, and the simanim don't match, and everything that we said, it just doesn't work. So learn the halachos of Techeles, and it will be counted in Shemaim as if we are fulfilling the mitzvah of Techeles.
But it's become so popular now.
That's exactly why I'm speaking about it. To depopularize it.
Does he mean you won't get schar even if it really is?
If it really is, so then he's going to get sachar for wearing it, as if, and he's going to get a lot of the opposite of sachar for going against Gedolei Yisrael, uprooting Emunah Chacham and say, you don't know anything, Gedolei Yisrael. I can't hear you. Pasuk in Parashat Shoftim says, listen to what the Chachamim say. And when the Chachamim say something, and you say, yeah, I hear you, but I'm on the same level. Why can't I, Paskin? I'm on the same level of Chaim Kanievsky. What does Rav Steinman know? Chazon Ish? Chazon Ish. Rebbe Yoshim? And I'm right up there with them. What does that mean? So one has to question himself and question this whole thing.
People say, you wear your tzitzis in or out?
That's a different question, not nogea. Not nogea, because we have opinions on both. Not nogea.
I don't understand. The Rabbanim today have paskined, you don't wear them, and we go with the Rabbanim, then that's the halacha.
We could have said this whole thing that we said now in half an hour in one liner. You're right. But sometimes we need to elaborate a little more, so maybe... I want to make sure that people understand that if what I said is compelling, I hope, and if it's convincing, and if one was wearing it, he can take it off today, and he doesn't need a Taras Nedarim, even if he was wearing it for years, because it doesn't even start. Unless he made a neder, I will wear this thing, so then just as a shayla of a neder, because you made a neder. But if you wore it without a neder, just you thought it's a Techeles, it's not a Techeles, because you are allowed to listen to Gedolei Hador, it doesn't even start, and you don't need Hataras Nedarim.
Does the same thing apply to the black on the inside of the thin straps? Because
that's a different discussion. Different discussion. Do you have to have black on both sides of the straps that fill in? Lemaisa, the answer is no. You don't need to. And there's a misinterpretation of the Arizal, which the Ben Ish Chai clearly, and he knew the Arizal. The Ben Ish Chai clearly writes, you don't need it, and the minhag is not like that. And there's many reasons why not, but it's a totally different discussion. Dirty Soul didn't go against it. This they're going against. It's not even a suffix. And we saw many problems that potentially can arise from wearing it. Parashat Tetzave, yes, with Hashem, this Shabbos is going to be Parashat Tetzave as well. What's that? Purim, a little Tetzave, a little Purim, Mitzvah Hashem. What time is Shabbos? We have time, right? We have time. Moshe Rabbeinu disappeared. It's the first time since we met him in Parashat Shemois that he doesn't appear in the Parsha, right? Why? Baal HaTurim brings, Chazal say, because he said, V'im'ayin mechenina misifecha asher kasavta, erase me. So Kosh Baruch says, okay. Retzon Yereav Yaseh, you have to be erased, no problem, I'll erase you. Good. Says the Chidah in Nachal Kedumim. The Torah is not just Bolamaisis. Interesting stories from the past. History, there's something for us. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu decide to write this in the Torah, or decide to omit this from the Torah? He took out Moshe Rabbeinu. What can I learn from this? He brings from the Shach on the Torah. Shach is Sifsei Kohen, Reb Mordechai HaKohen of Tzifas, from the time of the Beis Yosef, from the disciples of the Ari. And he writes, from here one should take great musar. Don't curse yourself. Don't open up your mouth. Moshe Rabbeinu was Moiser Nefesh for Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu was the holiest man. He brought the Torah. And yet, he said something. Since he said it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens. So his holy name doesn't appear in the Parsha. And from here you see, do not say anything negative about yourself. Do not curse yourself. Where is this in the Parsha? That's what the Torah says. Ve'ata tetzaveh meizol. Command Klal Yisrael. What should you command them? Not to open your mouth and say, Ve'im ayin mecheina misifecha, because look what's going to happen to you. You're not going to be in this Parsha. This is what you should command them. But why dafka from this Parsha we took him out? Why dafka now? So that's the God Bevilna. We brought in the past different ideas. I think we brought maybe the Imri Emes, if not mitzvah to repeat. Imri Emes says, when did he say this? What Parsha did he say this? Ve'im ayin mechenina. Erase me from your sefer. When did he say it? Next week, Kishisa. Killa Schina. Talmid says something, you have to do it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to keep him in the sefer. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, you know what? I don't have to rush. Let's wait a week. And he does. Comes Parsha Svayaki, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I don't have to do it now. We'll do it later. We'll do it later. We'll do it later. We'll do it later. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to keep him in the sefer. But then you do a whole cycle, and you come to the last Parsha before Kisisa. That is our Parsha Tetzave, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm forced to do it now. Oh, I have no choice. So then HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes, he's forced to, as if, take Moshe out from this Parsha, because he really wanted to keep him in. But what can he do? Moshe said something, and you have to listen to him. But Moshe Rabbeinu already said, I want you to take me out from Tetzave. In that sentence we quoted, he said it. Ve'im ayin, mechenina, from where? Misifecha, which sefer? Asher kasavta, that you wrote. Misifecha, which one? Asher. Asher, Aleph, 1. Shin, 300. Reish, together? Asher is 501. Tetzave is 501, is 501 is 1. Taf is 400, Sadi is 90, Vav is 6, Hey is A, Hey is 5, that's Tetzave. Misifrecha, Tetzave. I call it Asher, the same thing. So Moshe already alluded, that's the Parsha that I want to be taken out from. So Kodesh Baruch Hu, Retzon Yereav Yaseh, and he listens and he takes him out. Some say. That's a Gomvina, the 20th Parsha. They say the name of the Chidah, but the Gomvina came before him. Gevaldik. Some say. Some say. When I have the source, I try to quote it. If I don't, it's some say. That's another Perush. I think we brought it in the past. Oh, we have to have Chidushim. Chagiga, the beginning of Chagiga, Daf Gimel in Bavli, it says, En besamedesh belo chidush. But in Yerushalmi, in Daf Aleph, in Yerushalmi it starts from Aleph, not in base, like Bavli. In Yerushalmi it adds 2 words. En besamedesh belo chidush, bechol yoim. So you have to have Chidushim. Otherwise, if I say the same thing from last week, you'll fall asleep. Boy say, first besamedesh.
What's the record about that Moshe's name was raised here because of that?
Chazal say, Baal HaTurim brings it on the spot. It's a medesh, medesh.
It's not the Baal.
No. Yeah. First base, Amigdash. Why was it destroyed? Sinas Chinim, second one. Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, Shfichus Damim? Yuma Daf Tes Amud Beis. We all agree? Uh-huh. that's B'Metzia Pei and Adorim Pei Aleph. We're going with Yuma must be 4. Yuma Daftes Amud Beis, 3, Averos Chamurois. Lichaya, good. Again, Shabbos Kuf Yutes a few more reasons. In Yuma, in Yerushalmi, it says, Shayu Oyhavim Esa Mamon, they loved money. Baruch Hashem, that we fixed. That we know problem is. Baruch Hashem, Givaldik. But let's go with this opinion, the common opinion, 3, Averos Chamurois. How is it possible? There's a Gemara in Zvachim Pei Ches, Amud Beis. The Gemara says, Bigdei Kehuna would atone for these sins. The ephod atones for avodah zarah. The kutonis atones for shfichus damim, and the michnasayim of the kohen would atone for gilui arayos. So they constantly, the kohanim wear it at the time of Beis Hamikdash. So every single day you're atoned for. So how can Beis Hamikdash be destroyed for these averos if these averos are constantly being atoned for? Good shayla. I'm going. The Gemara says in Yuma Daf Tes Amud Beis, these are the reasons. In different places we have different opinions. For these reasons, lichoira, it doesn't work. So you're bringing us a new sin. Says who? Lichoira. When you wear that garment tackles that specific sin and cleans it up. That's the pashas of the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't say, by the way, if you listen. Well, we'll see what you mean. A few different answers on this question. The Shla HaKodesh says, the Bigdei Kehuna would atone only for the people who didn't protest. They are counted as if they sinned, but not for the actual people who sinned. So maybe there were enough people that sinned in these averos to destroy Beis Hamikdash. Those people who didn't protest were in fact atoned for with a Bigdei Kehuna. But that's not what destroyed Beis Hamikdash. The people who were actually involved in the sins, they destroyed the Beis Hamikdash for these averos. That's Shla HaKodesh. But that only works, according to Rashi. Rashi, over there in Zvachim Peiches, says that it really doesn't atone for the Avera itself. So that can work with the Shla HaKodesh, but according to the Tosfos, in Erchin Tes Zayin Amud Aleph, and it's implied also from Tosfos in Sanhedrin Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, and in Ksubis Lamed Amud Beis, Shita the Tosfos, that the Bigdei Kehuna atones even for the person himself who did the Avera. So Hadra Kushi Reduchta, we come back to the same question. And Margali Sayam has a different answer. Sanhedrin Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, Margali Sayam says, Bigdei Kehuna would only work to atone for the sins when you do tshuva, which is similar to what you said. So Mimele, since they didn't do tshuva, the Bigdei Kehuna doesn't work. And Mele, the Beis Hamikdash can be destroyed. Maran, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, that's all. We mentioned it many times today, we will more. Maybe some stories at the end, because it says Yotzai. And Maran, he has a different answer. Bigdei Kehuna atone for the machshava. I want to serve Avodah Zarah, it works. But for the actual sin, it doesn't. So if you only had machshava and machshava ra about Avodah Zarah, counts. But it can be fixed by Bigdei Kehuna. But if you actually serve Avodah Zarah, it's not going to help you. And apparently there were people who served Avodah Zarah and the other sins as well. And Mimele, Beis Hamikdash can be destroyed. Other answers. If Bigdei Kehuna would not atone, we wouldn't be here today. Bigdei Kehuna in fact atoned. And therefore Kodesh Baruch Hu took out his wrath only on the stones of Beis Hamikdash, on Klei Hamikdash, but not on Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael is still here. So he did atone. He minimized the severity of the punishment, and therefore Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. But Baruch Hashem only Beis Hamikdash, and we are still here. Or maybe we can say, the Bigdei Kehuna atones for the sins of individuals. But when the tzibur as a group sins in such severe matters, the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Ad kan, this cannot be atoned for through Bigdei Kehuna, it's not strong enough. Or, in Shvuz Daf Zayin Amud Beis we learn that the ephod atones specifically for a person who did Aveira b'mezid, but without a warning. Or, shogeg, that he wasn't even aware of. And then you tell me, do you know that you did this and this? The ephod works for that. But a person who transgressed b'mezid and he had the asra, Chayav Misa, and the ephod is not going to work for him. So the Nevi'im were there, and that's similar to what you said. The Nevi'im were there and rebuked him and said, listen, you got to do tshuva, you got to change. And they didn't listen. Mimele, it's b'mezid and hasra, and therefore it doesn't atone. Now we're in Purim mode. Baruch Hashem. Changing completely the mode, and we're going into a very relaxed and fun, immense Hashem, Purim time. Rabbi Yonasan Abshitz used to argue many times with priests. Yeah, you know, he had one-liners, he's very sharp in his ways that he answered them. So once this priest asks him, what you guys doing is very strange. Normally I see that all your Yamim Tovim start at night and it continues to the day. But Purim, you don't do that. Purim, you do the reverse. You start during the day and you continue to night. The Sudas Purim has to start during the day and it extends to the night. How come you switch it around? You're not consistent. And Rabbi Yonah said to him, I see that you guys are also not consistent. Normally, your holidays start during the day and continue to the night. But when it comes to scratch me, Tatzmech, 25th of December, can't say that word. I see that you start celebrating already at night, and it continues during the day. So Rabbi Yonah says, I'll tell you why that is. We're very consistent. And I think you guys are also consistent. Really? So, yeah. Look, where did we get the Yom Tov of Purim from? From a Goy, from Haman. So we follow the Goy Shemin Hagim. We start during the day and continue tonight. Where did you get scratch me? Tatzmach, 25th December from Eid. He was Eid. So you follow the Jewish minhagim and you start at night and you continue during the day. Ay. Riddle. A general riddle. No, not Purim. General riddle. Can it be you came to a bar mitzvah party? Yesterday was a bar mitzvah, we know for a fact. Last week was a bar mitzvah, we know for a fact. Bar mitzvah bochu is very excited. Now, I want to be moitzi others to do mitzvahs. So he wants to do a certain mitzvah. He said, wait a second. Today, you can be moitzi others. Tomorrow you can't. Same mitzvah. Today you can be moitzi them. Tomorrow you can't. Or the reverse. You say to him, listen, today you can't. Tomorrow you can. It's a week after the bar mitzvah. You were there, you know it's bar mitzvah. And he said to him, today you can be moitzi, but tomorrow you won't be able to. Today you cannot. Tomorrow you can. Can it be, Rabbi say? You're saying it can be. First of all, you're right. If you don't mind, share the details. How can it be that you can be moitzi someone today, but not tomorrow? I'm sorry? We're staying in the same city, either the Benkar, wherever you want, but you're not moving. You're going to stay here for a week. Today yes, tomorrow no. Or today no, tomorrow yes. Is it possible? What about Kriyat Zachor? But tomorrow you're going to read Zachor again?
No.
Same mitzvah. I want to do it. Today you can do it. Be moitzi others. Tomorrow you can't. Same mitzvah. Zachor we only read once.
Purim?
What about Purim? What's the connection to Purim? So we're 4 days before Purim. I'm going to ask you something about Purim?
Nothing to go Esther.
First of all, Tkiyas Shofar. Nothing to do with Purim. Tkiyas Shofar, the first day of Rosh Hashanah is D'oraisa. And therefore, the Bar Mitzvah Bocher, as long as we didn't see that he really is a Bar Mitzvah Bocher, 2 hairs, we view him as a Bar Mitzvah Bocher only for purposes of the Rabbanon because of what's called Chazaka Derava. A 13-year-old Chazaka, that is already a Gadol. That's good enough for the Rabbanons, not for the D'oraisa. So the first day of Tkiyas Shofar, which is the D'oraisa, he cannot be moitzi others. But tomorrow, well, you're 1 day older. But tomorrow, since it's only a derabanan, you'll be able to moitzi others. Kiddush, Friday night. We didn't daven Ma'ariv. We're going to hear Kiddush. It's a D'oraisa. Since it's a D'oraisa, he cannot be moitzi us. But tomorrow, the Kiddush during the day is only derabanan. He can be moitzi others. The reverse. Kriyasa Megillah. Nighttime. Tuesday night, in Yerushalayim, Wednesday night. Sorry. Bayas Monday night, Yerushalayim, Tuesday night. Kriyas Megillah at night is the Rabbanon. He can be moitzias today. Tomorrow he's 1 day older, and he won't be able to because tomorrow is Midivrei Kabbalah. During the day is Midivrei Kabbalah, which is like a D'oraisa, and a D'oraisa we're machmir, and it's not good enough just to say I'm 13 years old. So as long as we don't know that he's really has 2 hairs and he's Bamish Agadol, we cannot rely on a Chazaka Derava, and he will not be able to be moitzi us. Us meaning the men. Women, Turei and Megillah Daf Zayin, Be'er Halacha as well, Amek Shaila, they maintain. Women are chayav in Mikra Megillah because of the concept, Af hen ayu b'oisones, they're also part of the miracle. That's a D'Rabbanon. Our level of obligation of the Megillah is Divrei Kabbalah, the Nevi'im. Divrei Kabbalah is like D'oraisa. Their level, the women, is only the Rabbanon. Only the Rabbanon, so he can be moitzi them, but he cannot be moitzi us. The nafkamina is also, if a person has a chashash. Wait a second, I'm not sure that I heard a certain word that Chazan said. He was reading the Megillah, and I'm not sure I heard one of the words. If you're wondering about that at night, which is only the Rabbanon, Safek de Rabbanon lekula. You can be lenient, you don't have to hear it again. But if your chashash is during the day, I'm not sure I heard this word. Oh, it's like a deoraisa. Safek deoraisa, lechoira yesh lehachmir. You did so good in the previous riddle. We'll ask you another one. Can it be that you give? This is easier. Can it be that you give a person something, and your yoytze mishloach manos and matanos le'avyanim? Only one person. You gave it to him, and you fulfilled the matanos le'avyanim. You fulfilled the mishloach manos. Poor guy. But what did you give him? Matanos le'avyanim and mishloach manos.
He's the gabbai.
You gave him one thing.
The gabbai.
What about the gabbai?
The gabbai.
How does that work? I'm giving it to the Gabbai, I'm giving it to the Ani. He's my shaliach to give to the Ani, I'm not giving it to him. Otherwise, when he's giving it, he's giving his own, not mine. I gave food, but what did I give it as? Mishloach manos and matanos le'avyanim.
There's a Gemara, remember? Between two Amoraim.
Megillah Daf Zayin Amud Beis. They switched.
One gave a portion of meat to the Amora, and he said, you don't say in Matanos le'avyanim and
But I want him to be yoytze mishloach manos and matanos le'avyanim.
same thing.
How can it be?
Why can't the first two things be considered Shlach Manas and the rest of it considered Matanas and Yom for
Like that. Ma'ashot, Turei Even, Megillah Daf Zayin, Biur Haloch Hasim Tafresh Tzadihei. It seems that if you give a big mishloach manos to an ani, you can have in mind half of it is for mishloach manos, the other half is matanos le'avyanim. And therefore you give one thing, but it's so big and it qualifies for both mishloach manos, you'll be yoytze, and the rest, whatever it is, half, whatever it's 40%, 60%, whatever it is that you want, the other half I can have in mind for matanos. I don't recommend lechatchila do things right, but lichoira, it seems that should work. Rabbi Yisai, Ashayla. You know, Bachrim go on Purim and they go and collect, right? They go in the shivas and they collect. This group of young guys, 2 or 3 guys, went to this big vir, rich guy, and they come in. And very compelling argument, and they discuss the yeshiva, how good it is, and he gave them a very nice matana. Good? They go outside, they go to the car, they put their masks on and a costume, and now they're Panim Chadashos, Ba'u Lakam. They go into him again 5 minutes later. Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Shalom. Where are you from? Oh, listen, our yeshiva. The same beautiful argument, and he gave him a very nice matana again. Motzei Purim, they called to ask, tell me, did I do right? Am I allowed to keep this money? Do I have to give it back? Look, we all assume that if the Ashir would know you're the same guy from 5 minutes ago, I just gave you the money. You come in, why you come again? I just gave you the money. He wouldn't give. So it's a mekach taos. Do they have to give him back the money? Do they have to apologize? Do they have to keep the money? What do we do with this?
Yes.
What?
It goes to the yeshiva. It goes to the...
It goes to the yeshiva, but if the rich guy who gave it twice would know, he wouldn't give it twice. You fooled him. Can you take out money from a person fooling him? Even though it's for a good cause. But you fool him? You don't like it. You don't like it. What's that?
Why not?
Gnevas das is a big thing, no?
He wants to, deep down, he wants to do it.
Who told you? Deep down wants to give to Abu Moisdus. Why do I want to give him twice?
Didn't Rebbe Kiva do that to Rebbe Tarfel?
About once he did it to him. And he didn't fool him. He said, you want to invest? I have a great investment for him. Great investment. Bitcoin. So really? Yep. So he gave him the money. It wasn't Bitcoin. It was real estate. I'm going to buy you a city. And the money, he invested in a different city. A city upstairs. A whole state. Tzedakah. When he explained to him, he understood. It's a different Maaseh. Here, you're taking money, and 5 minutes later again, you're taking for the same cause, when other people can get that same money. If the rich guy would know, I'm assuming he wouldn't be happy. What does that mean? I have to give you twice when I see you in the morning, you come to shul. I give the poor guy when he comes, he does a circle in the shul, I give him, and then when he gets to the other side, I see him again, I have to hunt him and give him again. Nasutitim? That's a big chiddush. You saw it in the shul, no?
If he asked his name, and he said, yeah, I'm the same person, that's, if he made up a different name, then that's a problem. But if he just asked twice for the same person, that's fine.
But you put on a master, he wouldn't recognize you. You know exactly what was going on. You knew that if you come in again, he would recognize you.
I missed that.
They went to the car, put your costume on, Purim, Shalom Aleichem, Panim Chadashos. What's his chus? To cheat him? He wants to give, but to other Moisad. Why does he have to give to you again?
He has a certain amount of money he's going to give out.
Good. Right. But to the places that he chooses, not the one that you force him to.
Whoever comes to him, he's ready to give out. Because they're coming to him so he can participate in that mitzvah.
And what if he does it 5 times? You'll be okay with it?
They'll want him to come back 5
Good.
times.
7 times, and because of that, all the money that he allocated for Purim is gone, and no one else is getting. You're okay with that? What's the cutoff line? You don't like it. What's the cutoff line?
No. He has the money to give out. All right? Or they wouldn't be coming to him.
They go to everyone.
Not to everybody. They go to this guy because they know he has...
They even come to me.
A lot of checks to him.
What did you say? Somebody said there something. Say something?
I wasn't sure. Is that you probably have a certain amount of willing to give out throughout the whole day for him.
Right.
And if there's reason to suspect that he stopped giving at a certain hour because his guy took too much, that's one thing. But
So you don't have a problem with it?
the issue, the funny problem is that when you give it back, what can you do with the money? Meaning if someone gave back the money, you have a shiloh, you just put it back to the chulin.
Why? He would take it and give it to a different Moisad. I don't want to give twice to the same Moisad.
After Purim, he's going to get the nation that he maybe didn't have to want to give after Purim.
Matanos Levionim is Yoitzi a long time ago. It's just tzedakah. Yerushalmi, Peya, Perek Ches, the end of Halacha Hey. The Gemara says over there, if you see an ani that took matnos anim, then 5 minutes later he comes back to the Balabai and says, can I get matnos anim? Make me believe he didn't get it before. The Gemara says, you don't need to go to the Balabais and tell him, he was here already before. I saw him earlier. You don't need to. But the Yerushalmi says, but the ani, the poor person himself, should avoid this. He should be choishish not to do this. The Pnei Moshe explains why. Because if the Balabais would know that you already took, he wouldn't give you again. He probably won't give you again, which means if he does give you again, you're taking away from the other poor people. It seems from here that this is the wrong practice and one should not do it. And you can't say, but look, here they disguised themselves. And that's why he didn't recognize them. The Gemara also discusses, not Purim, the Gemara discusses this poor person who didn't put any mask on his face, and the Balabais doesn't really usually check you out. Wait a second, were you here before? He was busy. He doesn't look at people's faces for whatever reason. The Gemara says it's wrong to do. How much more so if you disguise yourself in order to do that? So this is something wrong. However, if the Balabais didn't explicitly say, and some people will say that, they'll put a little sign, don't come here twice. If you already took, go elsewhere. You have the right to do that. But since the Balabais know it's Purim today, and Purim, many people will come again, and again, and again, and again. Buyer beware. If it happened in Purim, and after the Maaseh, since on Purim we have a rule, anyone who extends and does this, you give him. On Purim, I don't think lechatchila one should do this. But after the fact, especially it happened on Purim, you don't have to call them and apologize and give back money unless it is clear to us that he would never give such a sum. He gave $1 million to the yeshiva. 2 seconds later, because you convinced him coming with this guy, another $1 million. It's demuchach. Everybody agrees he would not do that twice for the same moisad. Then I think you should call and give him back the money. But if it's a normal, nice donation, he's a rich guy. Nice donation, but since it's Purim and he knows people may come back, if he wants, he can investigate. Were you here before? Put up a sign, whatever he wants. But otherwise, lechatchila, one should not do this. But after the fact, I don't think that one has a problem.
The rich guy usually knows how much he's giving out.
Many times, but that's only if he didn't practice. After he drank a few cups, sometimes he doesn't know what he's doing, and his wife knows that he doesn't know. She starts yelling.
And then he's passed out. He's not writing anything.
And I can't say this without mentioning the famous Maaseh about Reb David of Karlin. David of Karlin wrote the Shal Shuvas She'ilas David. It's the time of the Chofetz Chaim. This should understand how big he was. Reb Chaim Oizer, who was the Gadol Odo at the time of the Chofetz Chaim, and Reb Chaim Ibrisk once wrote a letter to him, to She'ilas David, to Reb David of Karlin, asking him to join in a certain Maaseh. There was a problem with a Kiddushin al Tnai. They wanted him to write a letter. They write to him and they address him as Godel Hado, Zkan HaHoira LeBeis Yisrael VeYachid Bedoireinu. The only one. There's no one like you in our generation. You're the greatest. So you understand how great he was. So when he was old, he was sitting at home and he was learning. A fellow from the Novardo Yeshiva came to collect money. He comes in and he sees Gadol Ador learning with such excitement. Steigen! He wasn't able to open his mouth. He was in awe. He was standing there and watching him. At one point, Reb David Avkalin lifts his eyes and he saw somebody in the room. He says, yeah, Shalom Aleichem, what can I do for you? Oh, I came to collect for the Novardo Yeshiva. Oh, okay. So he reaches his pocket and he gives him a few dollars. He goes back to learn. And he's learning, and he's learning. And the Meshulach didn't leave because he was so impressed. He wanted to see Gadol Ador learning. After a few minutes, Reb David Avkalin again lifts his eyes and he knows, oh, there's somebody in the room. He says, oh, Shalom Aleichem, what can I do for you? He says, he got confused. He said, I'm from the Novardo, I'm collecting. Oh, okay. And he reached to his pocket and he gives him a few dollars. And the Meshulach says, but Rebbe, you already gave me a few minutes ago. And Reb David Avkalin started crying. And he says, you know, now that I'm old, I forget. I don't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. But Baruch Hashem, I didn't forget any word of Divrei Torah. When this Meshulach went back home to Novardo, he passed through Radin, Chafetz Chaim, and he told the Chafetz Chaim this Maaseh. When Reb David Avkalin passed away, Chafetz Chaim called this Meshulach to say this in his hesped, and he mentioned this story in the hesped. Baruch Hashem! I didn't forget Divrei Torah. That's what really should matter to us.
Was he Chassidish?
I don't think he was a Chassidish Rebbe, no, I don't think so. There was a guy, a Bachur, that once came to Reb Meir Shapir of Lublin. And he said to him, you know, I have a Shaila on the Maharsha. It's a very difficult Maharsha to understand. So what's the Shaila? So he quotes him what the Maharsha says, and he says why it's difficult. Very difficult to understand. So Reb Meir Shapir of Lublin says to him, there is no such Maharsha. He says, of course there is. So, can you answer my question? It's a very difficult Maharsha. So he says, can you quote again the Maharsha? And the Bachur quotes him, and Reb Meir Shapir says, it doesn't exist. The Maharsha never says that. He says, Rebbe, yes he does. And he argues, he insists, and he knows better than Reb Meir Shapir. So Reb Meir Shapir says, Neisi Sefer v'nechaze. Let's bring a Sefer and let's look inside. He takes out a Sefer, he looks inside, and in fact the Maharsha doesn't say it. He wanted to teach a lesson to this Bachur. So he told him, you should know what you just did now caused the Maharsha to stay with his mouth open and the Mashiach to be standing on one leg. And the Bachur looks at him and says, what? He says, I'll explain. The Gemara in Yevamos Tzadizayin Amud Aleph says that when you say Advar Torah in the name of someone who's no longer here, Sfasav doive voice bakever, his lips move in the grave. There's another Gemara, Megillah Daf Tesvav, Sanhedrin Kuf Daled, in Nida Yutes, in Pirkei Avos Perek Vav Mishnah Vav, Kol ha'omer dava b'shem ha'omer, when you say something, Advar Torah, in the name of the one who said it, what do? Mevi Geula L'olam, Geula. So when you started saying, the Maharsha says, the Maharsha's mouth opened, Sfasav, his lips start moving in the grave. And the Mashiach was so excited, he's bringing Geula to the world. So Mashiach took a step, and then you said the quote which doesn't exist. So the Mashiach keeps standing on one leg, and the Maharsha's open, and stays open. Rabbi Isai Riddle mentioned 20 names of Sfarim that we all know, Chashav Sfarim, that appear in Megillah Esther. Let's do this fast. The first sefer that comes to your mind. 20 different names of Sfarim that appear in Megillah Esther. Techeles Mordechai. What else? Now we have 21 because they didn't write this one. That's not. It is appear in Megillah Esther. The words Megillah Esther. I don't think so.
Beginning.
What's the beginning?
No, it's Egel Tetzaveh.
Rabbi said famous names. It's not. But that's in Megillah Daf Zayin Amud Beis, not in the Megillah. In the Megillah Esther itself. Vayiko, a few times. Vayiko is one of the Choshev Sfarim that we know, right? The third. Divrei Hayomim, the unique name, Divrei Hayomim. Sha'ar HaMelech, that's on the Rambam. Mishnah HaMelech, Abrozanis. Ma'amar Mordechai, Levush Mordechai, Ir Shushan, one of the Sfarim of the Levush. Tabas HaMelech, Mitzvahs HaMelech, Ginzei HaMelech, that's on Megillah for Korban Esanen. Iyei Hayam, Paschegen Haksav, Yad HaMelech, Oira v'simcha, doiresh toiv.
Are there any Safari?
We have. We mentioned a few already. Doiver shalom, divrei Mordechai, gedulas Mordechai, yein malchus, and Mordechai. Mordechai from the Rishonim. So I have 20, but Techeles Mordechai is the 21st. Yeah, depends how you say it. Rabbi say, Tanis daf chavtes amud beis. The Gemara says a statement we all familiar with. Keshem shemenichnas adar marbin besimcha. Just like when Adar comes You increase the joy, so too, kach, mishanichnas av, mematin b'sim. What does this mean? The word kishem is a word of comparison. What exactly are you comparing here? What should I do in av, which is like ada? What should I do in ada, which is like av? You're comparing the two, they're equal. What does that mean? Some explain. When you see someone during the 3 weeks, during the 9 days, one day before Tisha B'Av, dancing, listening to music, he's eating meat, he's drinking wine, you rebuke him, you get so upset. What are you doing? Even little kids, everybody knows, this is not the time, we're time for mourning. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? You're eating meat and drinking wine? You're listening to music now? What's wrong with you? You rebuke him, get so upset. If that's the case, and we all do it, Mishanichnas Av, it upsets us. So too, it should upset us. If you see somebody during the month of Adar walking with a Tisha B'Av face, walking when he is not full of simcha and joy, it should help. It should hurt. It should upset you. What's wrong with you? Even little kids know, Mishanichnas Av Marvin b'simcha. You should rebuke him and say, what's wrong with you? Put up a smile. And if he can't, so help him. Make him laugh. Make people be simcha, Mishanichnas Adar. Since it's a yortzeit of Maran Reb Chaim, 2 words, and we'll show a short video, 2-minute video. His son, Reb Shlomo, Reshiva Avkias Melech, he said that once a big gvir, we're talking big time gvir, came to Maran Reb Chaim. And this gvir, the dollars already are dropping out of his pockets. And he says to Reb Chaim, Rebbe, I want to see how I can help the Rebbe. What favor can I do for you? Just anything you say. And Reb Chaim says to him, oh yeah, maybe you can do me a favor. There's a Tosfos here that I don't understand. Can you think you help me? And he told him the Tosfos, it's a big problem. I don't understand the Tosfos. There's a big kasha on it. Can you help me? And this gets confused. I can't help you. So he says, no, I don't need any favors from you. And he says to him, Lech lechaim u'lashalom. Because the only thing that really matters, if you want to help Reb Chaim, is to try and figure out Divrei Torah. I went into Reb Chaim many times with Gedolei Olam, not in Talmud Torah. Gedolei Olam. I went with, I'm talking about the top of the top, very rich people. And many times I would present them to Reb Chaim and say, Rebbe, this is a big Talmud Torah. And I would explain. He has this yeshiva that supports, and this yeshiva, and he did this, and he did this, and he did this. Reb Chaim, totally not impressed. He says to me, Ulomed Torah, does he learn Torah? So I translate, and the guy answers, I don't have time. I'm doing this, I'm involved in a lot of tzedakah and chesed. I don't have time, businesses. So Reb Chaim looks at me, and he says to him, As tagid lo, ze lo shaveh klum. Ze lo shaveh klum. Ze lo shaveh klum. It's not worth it. It's worthless, meaningless. You're not learning Torah. What's wrong with you? It's gewaldik what you're doing. All the tzedakah and the chesed, gewaldik. But really counts is to sit and learn Torah. How much Torah? Rambam. Talmud Torah. Perek Aleph, Halacha Ches. Kol ish mi Yisrael. Listen what the Rambam does here. He builds it up. Who is chayav to learn Torah? Kol ish mi Yisrael. Anyone Klal Yisrael? Chayav beTalmud Torah. Ben ani, whether he is poor. Ben, even if he is an ashir. Even if he is rich. Ben shalem begufo, whether he has health intact, everything is fine, is working for him. Ben Baal Yisurin, even if he has all kinds of Yisurim, he has to learn. Ben Bachu, whether he's young and has a lot of energy. Ben Shehaya Zaken Gadol, very old, Shetashash Koicho, and he has no koyach anymore. Afilu Haya Ani Hamisparis Min HaTzedakah Mechazer Al HaPsachim, even if he's so poor, then he actually goes in collecting. And you know who even has to learn, you're not going to believe it. Ve'afilu Baal Isha ve'yeladim. Even a person who's married and has kids, could you believe it? Even he has to sit and learn Torah. That means, according to the Rambam, it's harder than the old person and the sick person and the poor person. You have a wife and kids, but you still have to sit and learn Torah. Chayav likbal ozman bayom uvalayla shene'emar ve'agisa bayom uvalayla. But until when? When does it end? Same Rambam. Continues, 1 halacha, 2 halachos later. The Rambam says, Ad eimasai chayav lilmod Torah. Until when? Ad yoim moiso. Until the day he dies. Shene'emar ufen yasur milvavcha kol yemei chayecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to sit and learn. The Chassam Sofer writes in Drashos Chassam Sofer, I have a Kabbalah for my Rebbes that anyone who learns between the 2 Megillos, muvtach lo shehu ben olam haba. I once went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I said, Rebbe, what does this mean? Anyone who learns between the Megillos from night until morning, at one point, what does that mean? I have to learn and stay up the whole night? It's Shavuos again? or 2 minutes. He doesn't say how long this means. Reb Chaim says, Tfos Loshon Sheni. You can be lenient and you can go with it. You learn between the Megillos, it's difficult, party time, everybody is busy. You have a Avtacha from the Chassam Sofer. Muvtach lo, shu ben oilem haba, and apparently that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. I want to show you a short video, and with that we end. Rabbi Yisrael should have a marvelous Shabbos and a Purim Sameach and Besuras Toives. So let's see this movie of Reb Chaim Kanievsky, 2 minutes.
לעשות עכשיו, אם ירצה השם, כנס של עשרות אלפי נשים, אם ירצה השם בכל העולם. אז הם רוצים לשאול את סבא משהו, הרב פסין פה, תשאל.
כבר יותר מ-65 מקומות בעולם, 10,000 נשים נרשמו לזה. הם עושים ערב בשביל לקרב את הגאולה. הם אומרים, נשים צדקניוס במצרים, הביאו את הגאולה פעם ראשונה, אז הם רוצים עוד פעם. אז הם יתכנסו כולם. מה אפשר להגיד לנשים האלה בשם הרב שיקבלו על עצמם בשביל לקרב את הגאולה?
מה להגיד לנשים שיקבלו על עצמן כדי לקרב את הגאולה? מה הם יתחזקו, מה הם יעשו?
נשים?
כן.
10 פעמים את כל הטילים.
זה שהנשים האלה רוצות להביא את הגאולה, זה בעצמו יכול לקרב את הגאולה?
הם יגיעו אצלם, קרבו את הגאולה.
כדאי לארגן עוד ערבים כאלה לנשים בעתיד? כן, כדאי. אני באתי לרבי לספר על 2 מויפסים שהרבי עשה. יש לנו שכן, החבר שלי, שנשוי 20 שנה ולא היו להם ילדים. אז לפני שנה הם נכנסו פה לרבי, והרבי נתן ברוכה, ואמר לו לפתוח מקווה. אז הוא גייס הרבה כסף, ופתחו מקווה, ובתמוז הם פתחו את זה, ובאותו לילה אשתו התעברה. ובקורב ומרצה השם רוצים ברוכה.
סבא אמר לו שיפתח מקווה אחרי 20 שנה שאין לו ילדים. באותו יום שהם פתחו את המקווה האישה נכנסה להיריון. באו להגיד ישר כוח לסבא.
הם רצו להגיד תודה ולבקש ברוכה שהכל יהיה קשורה. קוראים לה אפרת בת רוחמה.
השם שלה אפרת בת רוחמה שהכל יהיה קשורו.
עכשיו לא זו אף זו, האח שלו גם כן היה בלי ילדים 13 שנה ונכנס לרבי חודש אחרי, והרבי נתן ברוכה ואמר לו להקפיד על מייסר. אז הוא אמר, אני תמיד מעשר כל הרווחים שלי.
אז הוא אמר לאח שלו שיקפיד על מייסר, שהוא רצה ילדים 13 שנה הוא חיכה להם. אז הוא אמר לסבא שהוא כן מקפיד על מייסר.
אז הרבי אמר לו מייסר פירוס.
הסבא אמר לו לעשר גם פירות.
אז הוא אמר, אבל אני תמיד מקפיד.
אז הוא אמר שהוא גם מקפיד.
הלך לחנות והתברר שלא מקפידים שם.
הוא הלך לחנות והתברר שבחנות באמת לא מקפידים.
הוא התחיל להקפיד ובאותו חודש אשתו גם כן התעברה.
ובאותו חודש גם אשתו התעברה, הוא בא להגיד ישר כוח.
והם גם רוצים ברוכה שהכל ילך קשורה שם.
רוצים ברוכה שהכל ילך קשורו.
אמן. עכשיו באתי לספר לרבי מויפס. לפני שבועיים השכן שלנו, הבת שלו מאושפזת.
של סבא, שלפני שבועיים הבת של השכן שלו הייתה מאושפזת.
והרופאים אמרו שנשאר לה כמה שעות לחיות. עם המגייפה, עם המחלה של המגייפה.
היא הייתה במגייפה, בעיה לקורונה.
והרבי נתן ברוכה ואמר לשנות לו את השם.
אמר לשנות לו את השם.
ועוד באותו לילה הורידו אותה מהמכשירים, ניתקו אותה, וברוך השם עכשיו היא בסדר.
הוציאו אותה מהמכשירים והיא בסדר. אז הוא בא להגיד ישר כוח, על הברוכה של סבא.
הם רצו להגיד תודה.
יש הזכות שלה זה שסבא בירך אותה. זה הזכות.
Some women wanted to bring the Geula. And they saw that the first time around from Mitzrayim, we were redeemed for the merit of women, righteous women. So they wanted to have a big gathering of women who will sing and who will dance and try to bring the Geula. So they wanted to know what they should accept and said what you should do. And Reb Chaim said, 10 times the whole Tehillim. If they will do 10 times the whole Tehillim, can that bring the Geula? He said yes, and you can do other evenings, gatherings like this. The first miracle of the 3 that I'm telling him about is that a neighbor of mine, Mr. Some of you know him, and he doesn't mind that I'll share his name. It went viral and all over. It was in the news and magazines. His name is Itzik Khoury, and he didn't have kids for 20 and a half years. He understand a person who doesn't have kids for so many years, tried everything. All the sgulas in the world. Went to all the rabbis, dead and alive. He did have all the sgulas. Goes to Reb Chaim, and Reb Chaim said, build a mikveh. Mida keneged mida. You will allow other couples to have kids, you will have a kid. Doesn't have the money. Started raising money. Some people from our community went on his behalf to the States, raised money. Took a few months, they raised a lot of money. It was 750,000 shekels. They opened up a mikveh in a place in a yeshuv about half hour south in the month of Tammuz, a few months later. And they asked me to come to speak there in Tammuz when they opened up. That night, his wife became pregnant. After 20 years. 9 months later, a baby girl. Her name is Rivka. She's my next door neighbor. His brother, his name is Neri Khoury. 13 years was married, no kids. So 1 month after his brother came to Reb Chaim, Reb Chaim said, open up a mikveh, his brother went to Reb Chaim, thinking Reb Chaim is going to tell him to build a mikveh, right? One size fits all. So Reb Chaim explained to Reb Chaim, 13 years I'm married. So Reb Chaim says, you should be makpid on meiser. Meiser? I give from every shekel that comes in, I write down and I give meiser. So Reb Chaim says, not meiser ksafim, meiser peiros. Fruits, vegetables, but meiser. So he says to him, but Rebbe, my brother was here last month and he told me to build a mikveh. Shouldn't I build a mikveh? He says, meiser. Toshis in Eruv in Samech Dalet, Dvar Hashem befiv, the words of Hashem are in his mouth. The Rebbe doesn't even know what he's saying. But Kodesh Baruch Hu puts those words in his mouth. He goes back to the store, which he thought they're very makpidan, and he was very makpidan. Apparently, a place in Gilon, Yerushalayim, they weren't makpid. He stopped buying them. A month later, his wife became pregnant. 9 months later, a baby boy. The other moifes that I'm telling about, that was the first one, second one, third.
COVID.
That was the last one. There was something in between? No, that's it. During COVID, one of our neighbors, their daughter in Chutz La'aretz was hospitalized, and the doctor said she has a few hours to go. A few hours. I rushed to Reb Chaim. Reb Chaim said, change her name. He gave me a name. Change her name. Within a few hours, they took her off all the instruments that are plugged into her body. 2-3 days later, she was released. Everything was fine. Open miracle. Retzon yereav yaase. Chaval al de'avadin. Metz Hashem, pe'in nishmot et tzura b'tzura chaim. Amen.